What is up, Earthnoids and Spacenoids? I am just a simple Newtype, and in this episode we are finally returning to the novel High Streamer. Last time we learned of the AU Grimnet organization EGUM. They captured EGUM members Aliona Page, but Cunningham in the process accidentally killed civilians. James Stronger demanded answers for the Federation's incompetence, and we learned that Londo Bell in these early days are kind of bad at their job. This time, Amuro continues cosplaying as a spy. Londo Bell leaves the colony. Aliona tries to sneak away with Londo Bell, and they are attacked by Zeda. Also, the wiki has it as Elena, but Zeonic has it as Aliona, so I'm gonna go with that. Anyways, let's get into this. Sweetwater was supposed to be a closed colony, but turned into a Frankenstein using old abandoned Site 4 colonies, transforming it into an open colony, allowing in sunlight. Cunningham and Amuro leave the forest and enter the lower class slums. The class divide in the colony is apparent, which in turn becomes a breeding ground for anti-Federation action. Kids throw stones at Amuro, proving his point. He and Cunningham follow Aliona to a building. Cunningham assumes this may be EGUM's headquarters, but she is getting ahead of herself. The two are met with an older woman, wondering what they are doing snooping around. She thinks that they are detectives. Amuro says, yes, detectives. That's what we are. He just rolls with it. The old lady is named Kathy Kalizak. She was originally from Poland. Cunningham just casually mentions EGUM in conversation, which gets a reaction from Kathy. She says to ask Uncle Sam. Outside, a car takes off and they assume it is Aliona. It starts to rain, so they head into a phone booth. We poke fun at Tamino for not predicting cell phones in the original Gundam. But this is 1987. The same year that this book came out, Wall Street came out, with Michael Douglas holding that big-ass cell phone. I'm just saying. Also, since this came out before Wi-Fi, do you think Minovsky particles block Wi-Fi? I assume. They have to, right? Does that mean Minovsky particles kills the bees? Amuro tries to contact the Ra Zaim and tells them that if they don't return by daybreak, assume they are dead. They have to find this Uncle Sam. They head out of the phone booth, drenched in rain, and head into a bar. While in the bar, they try to blend in. He pretends to be a draft dodger and says, boy, how I wish Neo Zeon would see some reform. Cunningham is like, yo, are you trying to get us killed? Amuro says, don't worry, I'm nailing it. Amuro is not nailing this. In Gundam Pulitzer, Kika talked to the bartender, who tells this story to her. The bartender tells Kika that Amuro is a bad spy. Amuro and Cunningham pretend to be a couple. Someone comes into the bar, asking if anyone is good with mobile suits. Amuro says that he is. Bro, just stop talking. The man asks for Amuro's name, so he says, Hayato Kobayashi. This is Zeda Mandira. He needs his help, but Amuro says the word captain, which triggers Zeda. He punches Amuro and pulls a gun on him. Apparently the phrase captain is an inside joke used by them. I mean, that's your fault for making a relatively common military term a part of your inside joke. Weak writing. This could have used another pass, Tamino. He and his men take Cunningham prisoner. He says, this is how this is going down now. You're going to sneak on board the Ra Zaim and steal a mobile suit if you want your friend back. Amuro says he can't trust him. Zeda says that then he might as well kill him. But then he realizes that this is Amuro Ray, the famous Newtype pilot. Everyone in the bar starts murmuring. Cunningham is thrown in jail, where she meets Aliona, who is beaten and bruised. She returns to seek her punishment for failing her mission and wants to be accountable for her actions. Cunningham thinks, yo, you should have just ran. Later, Aliona feigned illness while Cunningham knocks out the guard. They try to rent a car, but Aliona is noticed by the shopkeep, and they keep running. They head to a trusty old phone booth to contact the Ra Zaim. Captain Macias tells Cunningham to lay low until they could send out search and rescue. Aliona claims that EGUM was just a civic group that suddenly turned to terrorism. Cunningham hears Amuro's Zeda. Zeda is amazed that Amuro came alone. He just learned that they lost Cunningham, so Zeda uses a voice synthesizer to pretend she is here. Amuro can sense that he doesn't have her. Zeda gets into his black mobile suit and takes off within the colony. Amuro follows suit. He wonders why the Federation allowed this colony to gain access to a mobile suit. Black mobile suit escapes into the industrial block. It heads out of the colony through hatch 23 as it closes. Amuro contacts the colony control room to open the hatch. They say, I didn't see nothing. And oh yeah, hatch 23 is broken. Find another way. Also, I saw nothing. Amuro thinks they are all complicit, those shady spacenoids. Oh no, Amuro's becoming a spacist. This book should be titled, well Amuro, what did you expect after rejoining the Federation? The Ra Zaim finally leaves Sweetwater. Amuro believes that the lax colony government is what is leading to this anti-Federation sentiment, along with the Federation's slow response. Macias reminds him that he is a part of the Federation. He isn't a kid co-opted into the military to exploit his Newtype powers anymore, nor is he the rebel fighting against the Titans. He is an adult, even even though he still seems to be acting like that child in many ways. He even acknowledges that he was a genius as a child, but now he is just a normal person. While heading out, they run into a petite mobile following them. It happens to be Aliona. She wanted to leave and says that laws are lax, so it's easy to smuggle out of the colony. She tells them that the citizens are celebrating the Federation leaving the colony. They made it a holiday and everything, but not like a real holiday. One of those marketing holidays that make you spend more money, like Taco Tuesday. I want tacos. They take her to the bridge. Cunningham is a little bit jelly of Aliona. They scan her to make sure she isn't a Cyber-Newtype spy. What if she's just a regular spy? If she is to emigrate to Londinian, she is going to need a sponsor. She says, okay, Amuro, you could be my sponsor. Amuro starts to realize the complexities of immigration. Is Amuro becoming spacist and anti-immigration in the same day? Amuro's millennial spacenoid to boomer Earthnoid transformation is finally complete. Aliona tells him that Zeda runs a smuggling ring and will probably come after them. The Ra Zaim crew suits up. There are also apparently rumors of Amuro having a harem and a girl named Lala being his wife along with Beltorchica. Nice. This is all Cunningham's internal monologue, by the way. You horny young woman, you. They detect incoming movement. The ship doesn't know what it is and wonders if they should trust the computer. They learn it is a bunch of Mitsubi K-74 mines. The K-73 was so much better if we're being honest. They have to ensure all beam attacks remain completely away from the colony. The Ra Zaim figures out where these mines are being deployed. Amuro thinks to himself that Macius is inexperienced. This is a time with no real conflict. It is an age of the bureaucratic military man simply playing war games. Then Amuro goes into a rant, and this is Tamino at his peak right here. One, he mentions that there are 20-ish billion people. Before we get into some Tamino glaze, let's get into a little bit of nitpicking. After the 1-year war, there was only around 6 billion people. So over the 13 years, people have been banging. Amuro knows that it only requires around 150 million people to run the entire Earth sphere. 150 million people work. But what do you do with the other 20 billion people? Now, the Gene Roddenberry approach to this is optimistic, right? The matter synthesizer made modern incentives irrelevant. This led to humanity focusing on achieving status over money. Tamino is a little less optimistic that most people will not spend their free time trying to become a better person. Most people will just fall into apathy, and we will see societal decline. Though he isn't all negative, as Tamino notes that humanity's desire to push forward is something to not take lightly. He suggests that the Newtypes are the balance humanity needs. Someone who could find balance without succumbing to the apathy. Yeah, easier said than done, Tamino. Of course, Tamino's solution to this problem is the Newtype. But it is kind of crazy that Tamino says in interviews that feasible space travel isn't possible because of the human problem. Outside of an interview, this is the first time I think Tamino actually laid it all out there for you to understand. And it's in High Streamer, which didn't make it to the final cut when it became Char's counterattack. I'm starting to understand why there's so much praise for this book. Cunningham is told to stay behind for the mission. Amuro launches in Zeda Unit 3. Remember, the Zedas used by Londo Bell during this time are technically called the Zeda Improved types, and this design has more Jagan features than what you are used to seeing in Moon Gundam. The Ra Zaim is suddenly ambushed. It is a Zeda in the black mobile suit. The black mobile suit hits the colony, angering Amuro. He gets a distress signal from his wingman Joe. Amuro unleashes missiles, but he too accidentally hits the colony. Whoops. He was mad at the Zeda, but he gave himself the benefit of the doubt. The reflection from the black mobile suit's radiator fins gave away Zeda's position. Amuro is able to get a hit on the radiator fin, doing damage. But the black mobile suit still has some fight left in it, and he charges. Amuro says, eat dummy balloons. He still relies on instinct over Psychomu's systems. There are no Psychomus in the Federation at this moment, and they refuse to acknowledge the Zeda and the Double Zeda. He seems more mad that the Feddies aren't developing this tech, and they won't ever. It requires Char leaking the psychoframe for it to ever be considered. Amuro closes the gap before Zeda could self-destruct. He surrenders and gets out of his mobile suit. Amuro demands to know where Char is. Zeda attempts to lie. He says, I don't care, I'm going to blow myself up. Zeda realizes he's talking to the boy from the pub. Amuro puts his beam saber next to his face. Yeah, that would definitely melt him. He calls Char Captain. He's the captain mentioned earlier? Amuro gets a message to retreat. He takes off the backpack of the black mobile suit and bails, leaving Zeda to require a rescue. And that will do it for this episode. I understand why Amuro's character changes from what we see in Beltorchika's children, making Amuro the main character again. Our hero has to relearn things that he already learned in older series. Because heroes need to grow, and the easier way to do that from a story perspective is to just make them stupid again. Or in Amuro's case, more immature and angsty. Seems like a regression. That being said, this is some of the best internal monologues that Tomino has ever written. It's not just the ramblings of an old depressed man like we've seen in some of Tomino's later works. Amuro has clear motivations and is driven by his situation. Solid storytelling all around, minus the Amuro whining part. Next time, Amuro realizes that the Federation functions more like a business these days and avoids active duty situations. We learn of the Indian Free Zone, and tiny construction colonies start to go missing. But that will do it for now, Newtypes. Remember, most people won't seek self-improvement if given the free time. Peace.